رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه واستنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We begin with what remains from the chapter that deals with the description, the format, and how to pray the salat, and what is reprehensible in prayer. And this is known as makruhatu as-salat. And makruhatu as-salat, the things that are not liked, the things that are not recommended for you to do in salat. So we studied in the beginning what is a must, the arkan, the wajibat. We studied the sunan. So what is the sunan? The sunnah is anything that is recommended and you will be rewarded for doing, but it would not impact, it would not affect your salat if you do not do it. Such as raising the hands. This is sunnah. So if you do not raise your hand, that would be makruh, meaning that you're not sinful for not doing it, but you lose great reward from Allah Azza wa Jal because you've left out something that the Prophet ﷺ used to do. So the things that are reprehensible in prayer, as mentioned in the book, are as follows. One, and we've mentioned this in the Sunan, a lot, if not all Muslims, believe that it is an essential part of Salat to recite a surah after the Fatiha. And this is not true. So if I say Allahu Akbar and I begin my prayer, recite the Fatiha till the end, غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ Ameen, and I go for ruku', Allahu Akbar. There's nothing wrong. Sheikh, but you did not recite a surah. This is the first rak'ah. Yes. You have to repeat the prayer again. Your prayer is invalid. No, the prayer is valid, totally. But you have done something that is makruh. What is it makruh for? Because it was never reported that the Prophet had skipped it, alayhi salatu wasalam. Nevertheless, it is not mandatory. Number two, repeating the surah Al-Fatihah in the same rak'ah. And this, unfortunately, is done by a lot of the Muslims, especially when they fall victim to OCD. And you see people do this repeatedly. I've prayed next to so many people saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitan, and you can hear it in the congregational prayer. He's next to you and he's making himself audible so that he would hear himself and try to fight the shaitan. And he says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alhamdulillah. And he doesn't stutter. He just simply is not confident. Even if he finishes the surah, shaitan comes to him and says, repeat it again. So he repeats it again and again. I prayed once next to a person who did this, and in the middle of the prayer, he broke it and went to perform wudu. Having said that, a person must recite the Fatiha only once. Repeating it is makruh. It's not part of the sunnah. Does it nullify my prayer? The vast majority of scholars say that it does not nullify your prayer, but it is something that is disliked and against the sunnah. Now, having said that, when does it become permissible to repeat the Fatiha? This is permissible when some people may contemplate upon it. It was reported that some of the Salaf would repeat the same verse over and over again, contemplating on it. So if someone recites the Fatiha and he loves the Fatiha and he goes and says again, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, and he contemplates on all praise is due to Allah Azza wa Jal, and he feels that Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen is actually filling the whole universe, and he enjoys position, of course, not leading the people on, but rather in night prayer or so. Some scholars like Sheikh bin Baz say that this is permissible, inshallah. The third reprehensible act in prayer is turning one's face slightly during prayer without a reason. Now, some of the reasons that you may turn your face slightly is when you are in salat and you get whispers of shaitan. Refuge in Allah from the shaitan 3 times. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Then spit 3 times to your left. This is from the Sunnah. Now, if there is someone standing next to you, I wouldn't advise this, because then it would have seemed that you're doing that towards him, and you don't want to have a fight after salat, maybe even during salat. So what to do? The thing is to try to do that to your left foot or underneath your left foot. Okay. And the second position, or the second reason you may need to look around, is if you're praying and there's a child in the room, and if you're a mother, and this happens often with the mothers, so she's praying and the child is there, maybe climbing the cupboard or doing something that might be dangerous. She does this. This is okay. This slight movement to the left, to the right, no problem in that, in order to look. You're praying and all of a sudden something moves to your side and you look at this, maybe it's a snake or a scorpion. So you have to look, rather than saying, no, I'm not gonna look, I'm gonna have khushu' in salat, and then you end up in a funeral house or dead. So this is part of the things that is makruh in salat. Now, we mentioned in the things that nullify your salat is when you turn totally with your side like this, or give your back to the qibla. Then this is totally invalidate your prayer. Number 4, part of the things that is makruh during salat is what most Muslims do, and that is they close their eyes in prayer. So when they pray, they do this. What are you doing? He says, Sheikh, I've noticed that when I close my eyes, my concentration, my khushu', my submissiveness is off the chart. Way, way good, alhamdulillah. So I'd like to maintain this. Now the problem is that when you do such a thing, sunnah. So he says, yeah, I know it's not sunnah, but I find my heart in it. So I gain more khushu', and this is not permissible. Not permissible in the sense that this is going to lead you to follow the footsteps of shaitan. What footsteps of shaitan? I'll tell you. I had a cousin, and this cousin was, mashallah, a student of knowledge, and then something happened to him that gave him praying at the masjid. So his mother called. So I came to check on him. What's happening? You used to advise us when we were young to pray in the masjid, and you used to give talks in the masjid and give da'wah. What happened to you? He said, well, you know that when I pray in the masjid, there are so many children playing around, and when I prostrate, the smell of the people's socks in front of me is is very bad, and the air conditioning and the noises people make, and this man next to me is picking up his nose and the others playing in his wallet, etc. So I found myself and tranquility more praying here in home. I tried to talk him out of it, but to no avail. A few months later, his mother called and she said, it's getting worse. So I come and I find out that he's praying in an isolated room of the house, and nobody comes into that room when he prays. So what's this? He said, now this is where I find my heart. There's no sound, no one is coming in and out. I'm certain of the purity of this area. Tried to talk him out of it, no way. A few months later she calls, and now he started praying in the dark, turning off the lights, the air conditioning, and he said, this makes me feel more down to earth, makes me feel more khushu'. Subhanallah. Few months later, he quitted, he stopped praying altogether. Wal-iyadu billah. This comes from shaitan. So now you telling me that closing my eyes, I don't know, but it surely is the first step of the way. And if there was any good in it, our Prophet would have done it, because it's a prayer. The companions would have done it. But no, there's no good in it, and we must not do it, because this is not part of the prayer of the Prophet alayhi as-salatu was-salam. Number 5, placing one's arms up to the elbows on the floor during prostration. What does that mean? Yes, to raise your elbows up. But if you fail and you put your elbows and your arm and your hand on the ground, you're like a lion or a dog when they sit on the ground like this. And this is something that the Prophet ﷺ prohibited and said, you should not prostrate like this. Why would anyone do that? 1, laziness. 2, sometimes it is so tight, easier to place their elbows on the ground. 3, the sunnah is to make your elbows and biceps away from your body, like this, as if you're spreading your wings. If it's too tight and you're abusing those to your left and right, then you should do this and put your knees, you're not a camel, put your elbows to your thighs, but not place them on the ground. Number 6, making many. So in prayer, some schools of thought restrict the movements into 3. After that, it invalidates your prayer. But this is not authentic. Movement in prayer can be mandatory. If you see a scorpion or a snake while praying, you must kill it before it harms you. And it can be recommended. So if I'm in prayer and I feel that my shoulder is itching me, and I don't itch it, I don't, remove this itch, and I'll finish the salat and then immediately do this. And if you ask me, what did the Imam recite in the first and second rak'ah? I don't know. I wasn't actually concentrating because this one was killing me. So go ahead and scratch it. Sometimes you're in prayer and your mobile rings. So it is recommended to turn it off, rather than make every single Tom, Dick and Harry in the masjid engaged with the ringtone and not concentrating in their salat. Especially is prevailing in so many masjids. May Allah Azza wa Jal guide them. Number 7, placing one's hands over one's waist on both sides. So this is putting your hands like this. This is one way of doing it, but I don't think anybody would do this during prayer. So it's most likely doing this. So instead of putting the right on the left hand like this, like we've explained before, people sometimes do this, and sometimes they do this. So they go to extreme and put their hands on their waists, and this is not recommended. Number 8, throwing one's rope or shirt over one's shoulders and letting loose on the sides. This is debatable, or to explain it is not that crystal clear. Some say it is when you're totally undressed and you dress yourself with one piece of cloth. So it's like a mummy. You wrap it around your waist, and then when it comes to, so now you are actually covered with one piece of cloth, and this is loose from the sides. The possibility of it being loose all over and falling down is there. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but it's always best to be careful when you put on your clothes that you put it well so that it would not fall down. By the way, yesterday I was praying, and when I was leaving the masjid, I came across one of the brothers who was sitting, was exposed. And people, I don't know how they pray like this. His shirt went up, his trousers, he was a little bit chubby, and his trousers went down, and half of his buttocks was, you can see it. It's repulsive. So while he was prostrating, I had to pull down his shirt to try and cover it. Of course, I know the feeling that he probably would have wanted to kill me if he wasn't praying, but who cares? This is a masjid, and your awrah is exposed to everyone. Before the imam in congregational prayers, and this happens a lot. Some people are so keen on moving to the next pillar that the moment the imam says Allah, the guy is on the floor prostrating. Akhi, your imam is still up, he's still going down slowly. They don't wait, and this is wrong. To mimic your imam, to follow him exactly, is reprehensible, is makruh. So when the imam is going to ruku', you're going with him, and you say Allahu Akbar, and you're going with him. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Step by step. This is makruh. What you should do according to the Sunnah is, the companion says, we prayed with the Prophet ﷺ, and none of us used to bend his back until the forehead of the Prophet ﷺ touched the ground. So even if the Prophet says Allahu Akbar, they would not move until he touched. Side by side with the imam is not permissible. This is not recommended, makruh. Going ahead of your imam is prohibited. And the most authentic opinion, if someone does this intentionally, if your imam is old and grumpy like myself, and when he says Allahu Akbar, he slowly moves down because he's not fit, he's not agile, and you immediately see that he's going down slowly, but you immediately go for sujood before him. If you do this deliberately, your prayer is invalid. So this is a imam, not before him, because this should be included, this point should be included in the things that nullify your prayer, invalidate your prayer. Number 10, clasping one's fingers together, doing this. Some scholars said that this before the iqamah is makruh, and after the iqamah is makruh, and so is cracking your fingers is makruh. But doing this during prayer is definitely makruh. Doing it after prayer is not makruh, because the Prophet had done that alayhi salatu wasalam himself. So there's no problem in that. And doing it before prayer as well is there's nothing wrong in that. In the actual prayer, yes, this is makruh, this is disliked, not recommended to do. Number 11, turning one's hair or clothes. I don't know what turning is, but in Arabic it is to fold one's hair or clothes. And this would be understood if someone has long hair. Nowadays it's not something nice to have long hair, but in the past this was a sign of chivalry, and men used to do this, and all men used to do this actually. Nowadays it's a sign of feminism, yani if a man or imitating disbelievers and rock stars and whatever, and Muslims don't do this anymore. It is against the Sunnah to fold. If you have a long hair and it's down, it is against the Sunnah to go and fold it and put it in a ponytail, for example. Why? Because as Imam Nawawi and other scholars say, that the Sunnah is when you bow and prostrate, it bows and prostrates with you. So don't tie it up and fold it. As for the clothes, I recommended. What about if my trousers are below my ankles? Well, this is haram whether you're praying or not. But if you're praying, then it is recommended that you fold it so that you pray without doing something haram. Wouldn't this be falling under the prohibition of folding your clothes? The answer is no, because this is for a reason, and it's a legitimate reason. Number 12, praying when food is present. Well, this is not only when food is present, also when you are fighting the urge to answer the call of nature. So this is makruh food, and as they're serving food, Asr Iqama is called, and you're starving. In this case, start eating, because if you go to pray without eating, you'll be preoccupied with the food, with your hunger, and you will not be able to pray well. Likewise, if you are fighting the call of nature, this would lead you to not thinking straight, not being able to concentrate while praying, and this is something that Islam does not recommend. And this is why Islam looks at the conclusion. If I'm a judge and I have a hearing to make a sentence against someone or in favor of someone, and I come to the courtroom with the urge of going to answer the call of nature, or I have a diarrhea, or I have stomachache, how would this impact my judgment? Negatively. So it is highly recommended that I do not attend or adjourn it. Likewise, if I'm starving. Likewise, if I'm agitated and angry. I had a fight with my wife this morning just before going to work, and now I am looking into a marital dispute. Definitely something messy is going to take place when I judge that, so one must not do that. Number 13, raising one's eyes to the sky, and this is most likely prohibited rather than not recommended. The Prophet ﷺ said, those people who lift their eyes to the sky. So during prayer, this is the way of being submissive, of khushu'. But if you're during prayer, do this. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Whoa, this is extremely bad and dangerous for you, and Allah Azza wa Jal knows best. And with this we conclude the chapter that deals with the things related to salat. And in the next segment or session, inshallah, we will start to talk about the different types of salat, such as congregation. Now, we had backlog from the questions. Where are the questions? I remember doing the questions somewhere here. Yes, this is it. So we will take the questions and try to answer whatever we can in the remaining half an hour. Jamila says, can I make dua in the last sujood in the obligatory prayer? Well, you can make dua in any sujood, whether it's an obligatory fard prayer or it's a voluntary. Specifying the last sajda with it is not part of the sunnah, and I would not recommend it. We see a lot of Muslims prolong the last sajda of the prayer. So the previous 7 sajdas were all equal in length. The 8th sajda is double the time spent. Why? They don't know, but they've seen people do it, so they're following. And this is not correct. You can make dua in any sajda you want in your fard prayer. Umar says, my question is, I'm reading my intention in my mind before the takbiratul ihram. Is that okay? The answer is no. The intention is niyyah. Niyyah is in the heart, in the sense that I want to reach out to something, I reach out. I see an apple, I don't go in my mind, oh, I read the apple, beautiful, nice, shining. I am going to reach out with my right hand, grab it with 4 fingers, and then take a bite. What is this? This is, all what you have to do is just simply reach out and eat it. This is intention. And likewise, when you want to make wudu, or you want to read your salat, you're going to stand in front of the Qibla, facing Qibla, and say, Allahu Akbar. Anyone interrupting you, say, hey, what are you doing? You say, I'm praying. Praying what? Dhuhr prayer. Did you say that? Did you intend it? I said, I know what I'm doing. I'm not crazy. So thinking of it, saying that I intend to pray Dhuhr on this day or that day, this is not part of the Sunnah, and it's not correct to do. Tanya says, I want to know the rules of 4 rak'ah Sunnah before Dhuhr, fard prayer. Whether I should read 4 rak'ah Sunnah at a time, or 2, then again 2. The vast majority of scholars say that the voluntary prayers should be separated into 2 units prayer, 2 units prayer. Abu Hanifa say that you have to pray 4 rak'ahs, only concluding it with salam. So as if you're praying Dhuhr or Asr. But the majority of scholars say you pray 2 rak'ahs like Fajr, offer salam, stand up and pray the other 2 rak'ahs, and then offer salam again. So if you do this or you do that, inshallah, it is all okay. Tahira says, can we pray the Sunnah in Friday prayers after the first adhan? Well, Dhuhr prayer 6 days a week has 4 rak'ah Sunnah before the fard and 2 rak'ah Sunnah after the fard. Okay, we know this, we agree upon this. When it is Jum'ah, when it is Friday, there is no prescribed Sunnah to be prayed before Friday prayer, whether before the adhan or after the adhan. Again, what do you mean by no prescribed Sunnah? There's no prescribed Sunnah. No, the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, ever told us to pray before Friday prayers. Any emphatic or prescribed prayer, there's none. But if I go early to the masjid and I decide to pray voluntary prayers, not emphatic, not Sunnah, just general voluntary prayers, no problem. The sky's the limit. I want to pray 10 rak'ahs. Be my guest. I want to pray 50 rak'ahs. Be my guest. I want to pray 100 rak'ahs. No problem. But it's not prescribed. There's nothing part of the emphatic sunnah to do it, but you can do whatever you want. But do not pray 4 rak'ahs after the adhan thinking that this is dhuhr sunnah or it's prescribed. It is not. After Jumu'ah, after Friday prayer, yes, there is a prescribed sunnah. And it goes like this. If you're gonna pray the prescribed emphatic sunnah after the Jumu'ah in the masjid, you pray 4 rak'ahs, 2 plus 2. But if you decided not to pray in the masjid and want to go back home, then once you reach home, you pray his salatu wassalam. Haslin says, if one forgets to do sajdat al-sahu and started to pray next set of rak'ahs, what to do in this case? For example, a person prayed a prayer and forgot to say Subhana Rabbi al-Azim in ruku', and he remembered while praying and saying, okay, this requires that I offer sujood al-sahu before salam. So he completed this prayer and he forgot, did his tashahhud, offered voluntary or whatever, and he remembered in the voluntary prayer the other set. What to do? Nothing, khalas. The place for sujood al-sahu has gone and there's nothing for you to do, and your prayer is valid, inshallah. Ma'suma Maskud Islam says, I hope you answer my question. Well, I hope that as well. In a women gathering like a house, when in a house, is it permissible for a woman to lead a prayer without? Sunnah is that a woman stands in the same row as the other women in congregation. Unlike men's congregation, the man must step forward. The imam must be in front of the row. In women's congregation, the woman, the imam, the female imam must be within the line and the row itself. Afiyah says, Ya Sheikh, while traveling, if I know I'd reach home on the time of Asr, even after knowing I'll reach home. So the question, to be more clearer, I left Medina at 12 o'clock noon, heading back to Jeddah. And the distance is, or the journey is about 4 hours. So I will reach at 4 o'clock. Adhan of Asr is called about 10 minutes to 4. So at 2 o'clock, while I was in Midway, I stopped to fill up gas. I went to the masjid. I prayed my dhuhr 2 rak'ahs. And Asr 2 rak'ahs. Though I know I'm going to reach at the time of Asr, even before Iqamah is given of Asr. Is that permissible? Totally permissible. There's nothing wrong in that at all. Would it be better if I do not combine? No. This is your preference. This is your choice. There's no problem in that at all. Ramla, what is the sunnah way for tashahhud? We have to move our finger since we sit in tashahhud till before salam, or we have to only point our finger when we sit for tashahhud and move it only in dua after darood, which is in the last tashahhud. Please guide me. Well, if you watched, Ramla, the previous episodes, you would have maybe figured it out because we had mentioned it. And I'll mention it again. Wa'il ibn Hujr, may Allah be pleased with him, said that the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he sat for tashahhud, he used to point his index finger and moving it, supplicating with it. Scholars say that he did not specify a particular time. So the moment you sit for tashahhud, you say like this, put it on your knee and thigh and say, التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد till the end. And after that, if you're engaging in dua, you keep on doing it until the Imam says Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You conclude your prayer. Okay. Kareem, is it permissible to for a traveler to stay back when we are praying obligatory prayers in congregation in the hope to shorten prayer? Man, this is stingy. Seriously. A traveler enters a masjid, the iqamah is given, and they're going to pray dhuhr 4 rak'ah. So he sits back in the masjid. The imam starts the prayer, finishes 1 rak'ah, finishes 2 rak'ahs, does the tashahhud, then stands up for the 3rd rak'ah. The traveler walks in and joins the congregation, concludes his prayer, shortening. This is not accepted. This is not permissible. Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with the man with his father, was asked, why is it when a traveler prays behind a resident, he completes his prayer and not shorten it? And Ibn Abbas said, this is the Sunnah, my nephew. This is the Sunnah. So whenever a traveler enters a masjid and the imam is residing, even if you attain 1 rak'ah with the imam, which is the 4th rak'ah, after he concludes his prayer, you as a traveler must finish 3 more rak'ahs. Why? I'm entitled to shorten. Yes. Not if you pray behind a resident. Then it's mandatory for you to complete your prayer, whether you pray with him from the beginning or from the end. Ma'ruf Alam says, is it permissible for me to attend the job exam of bank which has connection with interest only for experience, not for if the exam is just a placement test? You go and make a test and leave. No strings attached, there's no problem in that. But if it is your co-op, if it is your training that you're taking and you have to work for 4 months to 7 months in the bank, even if they don't pay you, this is not permissible, because you would be assisting them in transactions they're doing, which is haram. If you're just there to observe, not to do any type of paperwork or helping them, then this might be possible, but I don't know of any bank that would allow this. Lean says, here in my country, they conduct course of Imam Al-Ghazali. Is it advisable to attend? Kindly advise. Imam Al-Ghazali was one of the scholars of Islam who were misled and were involved in philosophy that took them out of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah and was in really shaky grounds until Allah Azza wa Jal granted him forgiveness and guided him back to the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah to die on it. So throughout his life, he wrote many books such as Ihya Ulum al-Din and others that were filled with weak and fabricated hadiths and texts. And he was, until date, regarded among the Sufis to be one of their scholars. So any course that is based on his life most likely would be focusing on the Sufi aspects, and the fabric is not at all permissible, and Allah knows best. Rabia says, when should one say takbir while going to sujood? If they will do sujood while sitting on a chair, they will do takbir as usual in the middle. So if I'm sitting on the chair like this and I want to go for rukur or sujood, it doesn't matter. So I said, Allahu Akbar, this is rukur. Sami Allahu liman hamidah at the end. Number 2 of her questions, the reward of reading adhkar while sitting after the fard salah included in this. So for Forfeiture prayer, So I'll say it while sitting down. And afterwards, there are adhkar for morning. And I'll say it while sitting down. The angels would keep on asking for forgiveness from Allah Azza wa Jal for me and making dua for me. So likewise, when it's Maghrib, if it's Dhuhr, Asr, Isha, you do your Salat and you sit and say your adhkar after Salat. But in the morning and evening, you say it as well in addition to the adhkar of the Salat. Number 3, after reading Surah Al-Fatihah, should we say Bismillah loudly before starting a surah? This is the opinion of the Shafi'i school. So it's the opinion of Imam Shafi'i. May Allah have mercy on his soul. But this is not the opinion of the other 3 schools of thought. And surely it is not part of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, nor of his great companions. So part of the Sunnah. The Shafi'is go like this: Allahu Akbar, Subhanakallah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillah. And also they do this with the other surah: Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qul huwa Allahu Ahad. This is not part of the Sunnah. The Prophet never recited the Fatiha loudly, nor did Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, or Ali, may Allah be pleased with them. Rayyan says, can you recommend a tafsir book for kids? I don't know anything that was written for children, but I believe that one of the most eloquent and easy to read tafsir for laymen and for people with authentic aqidah and hadiths is the tafsir of Imam Abdul Rahman ibn Nasir As-Sa'di, the tafsir of As-Sa'di. And I think it's translated and it's sold, and Allah knows best. Aliza, I often forget and offer 4 rak'ahs instead of 3 and 5 rak'ahs instead of 4. Please explain about sajdat as-sahw. If you discover, so I'm standing and this is my 5th rak'ah, and all of a sudden, what am I doing? This is the 5th rak'ah. Okay, did I sit in the 4th rak'ah for tashahhud and then stood up or not? No, most likely I didn't. I just stood to the 5th rak'ah thinking it was the 4th. So I immediately sit down and offer tashahhud, offer tahiyyat, salutation, and then conclude my prayer with sajda, with salam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And then offer 2 sajda of forgetfulness. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is the way of doing it. Okay. Fida says, do our hands become impure after waking up from sleep because we are commanded to wash them thrice? Is sleeping during daytime also included? This is an issue of dispute. The Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that إذا استيقظ إنا حتى يغسلها 3 فإنه لا يدري أين باتت يده. So the Prophet says, when one of you wakes up, and this is morning and evening, he must not put his hands, they did not have faucets, so it was a bucket of water. If you insert your hands in it, then we don't know what might contaminate the water or not. The Prophet says, then you should wash your hands 3 times before inserting them in the bucket, because one does not know where his hands, quote unquote, spent the night. أين باتت. And those who say that this is only for daytime, for night sleep, use this word batat to indicate that it is referring to night sleep. And those who said that no, batat is generally understood because most of the sleep happens at night. So the general terminology would be used this, but this does not mean that when you wake up from daytime sleeping that you should not do it, and it's an issue of dispute. Now, does my hands, why do we say the answer is no? Because even if I sleep with gloves of plastics, like the surgeon gloves on, if I wake up and take them off, I still have to wash my hands 3 times. Though I know definitely that my real hands were not contaminated. So this is something to deal with the unseen. It is like when the Prophet tells us, when you wake up, you have to pull the water up your nostrils and blow it 3 times. Why? I didn't see any devil, but I believe in what the Prophet says, so this is what I do. And likewise, when it comes to my hands, it's not necessarily that my hands touched any najasa or were contaminated by it, but still I do what the Prophet said, alayhi. Shiriyaw says, is your prayer valid if you do not roll the R sound in the Fatiha or outside the Fatiha? The R is very close. So when you say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen or Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, it's very delicate. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim or Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Nobody says this, but some say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Now the R is totally gone, and this guy has an issue like the Parisians. Merci, not merci. Only the people of Paris say merci. Outside of Paris, they pronounce the R well. So if a person does this deliberately, this invalidates his salat. If he says Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and he can't say Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, very slight, but it's an R. When you say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, changing it to an L or in totally erasing it and make it invisible, this is not permissible. Other than the Fatiha, it can be tolerated, but again, who in his right mind would do this deliberately? This is totally Can I use my phone as a sutra when praying? Because I doubt that the phone is flat. Well, actually, we know that the sutra in Islam, it should be this high, which is approximately a foot high. This is the Sunnah. A foot high or 30 centimeters height, this is the minimum. When you put a phone, which is like a centimeter high, this does not make a sutra. Though some schools of thought say that even a line in the masjid, a line on the carpet does make a sutra, but this is not authentic and Allah knows best. Abdul Rahman Adam, if a woman did not go to Friday, can she pray dhuhr as soon as she hears the phone's adhan? The answer is yes. For women who are praying home, the misconception in the subcontinent is that they must not pray dhuhr until the men pray their Friday. And this is totally baseless. See, the 6 days of the week, Saturday through Thursday, dhuhr was 12:30. On a Friday at 12:30, whether the adhan is given or not, you can pray your dhuhr. Don't wait for the people in Jumu'ah because they're not related to you and you don't have to wait for them. Nazia, do we need to say Allahu Akbar after Sami Allahu liman hamidah while going into sujood? Of course. Every movement in your prayer has something for you to say. So when you bow, when Allahu liman hamidah, when you want to go to sujood, you just don't go to sujood. You have to say Allahu Akbar again. Isra, is it sunnah for the one who prays at home during Fajr adhan to lay on the right side and make dhikr till it's time to pray, or it's only at the mosque? It's neither in your home nor in your mosque. Lying down on your right hand side after the adhan of Fajr is a sunnah only for those who pray night prayer and lies down on his side. We say, no, this is not a good thing to do. It's not part of the sunnah. And the Prophet used to pray like 3 hours, 4 hours, and when the adhan is given of Fajr, he offers the sunnah of the Fajr and he rests for a while because he knows he's not going to fall asleep. If you and I do this, probably we would wake up at Dhuhr adhan. So yes, if you fear that you're going to oversleep, don't do it. And if you did not pray night prayer and took a long time, says, is it really haram to have a dog even if it's living outside the house? Yes. 1 carat of your good deeds is deducted every single day, and each carat is the weight of Mount Uhud. It is not permissible to keep or to pet a dog unless the dog is for farming, for hunting, or for guarding, to guard, but not to take it as a pet. Rabi'a says, is it permissible to recite the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam as it goes, رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ, at the end of my salat, just before concluding the salam? This is permissible if done once every blue moon, but if you do it in every salat, this becomes an innovation. Isra says, if a woman is watching show or on social media, if she looks at the man or at the men who look attractive and realizes this, does that count as fitna? If she believes they are attractive and she's enjoying watching them, of course this is fitna. She's sinful for doing this. Hussein Ahmed says, I recite the Surah Al-Fatihah after the Imam has recited it. Should I do that? The answer is yes. This is highly recommended, that after the Imam finishes the Fatiha, you recite yours, though it's not mandatory because it is a loud surah, a loud prayer. Dunya says, during prayer I feel happy and I smile. Does this invalidate my prayer? We mentioned this in a previous session and said that smiling does not invalidate prayer, but it is makruh. It is reprehensible from Inspector Muhanat. What will I do if I see a scorpion coming towards my side while praying? Kill it. What else can you do? If you can, you must kill it. Or if you're unable to do that or afraid, then you cut or break your prayer and try to change your place, bring someone to kill it, do whatever it needs, but definitely not continue to do. So this brings us to the end of today's session. Until we meet next Thursday, inshallah, I leave you fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.